Welcome to Kathy'sRight.com, your pit stop for the conservative mind, heart, and soul. I'm Kathy Hatch, your host. Today's special guest is Lissette Carter. She's a two-time published author, public speaker, and host of the Rookie American podcast on iTunes and Spotify. I'm happy to have her here because I remember well what it was like to be a young mom. She took being a young mom to the limit. She not only did that and does that on the daily, she wrote about it. Mothers today have a unique challenge. The times have changed. The days have changed. Education has changed. Society has changed. Not always for the better, for the most part, for the worse. And how does a mother navigate their children, their lives, their families through these tumultuous times? I find it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that some women are capable of meeting with gusto. We welcome today Lissette Carter. What's going on with you? Tell me about your podcast. What have you been talking about?
I have been, the last podcast I took a little bit of a break last week. The one before that, I actually did a podcast on the new legislation that has been passed. Well, the new sexual education curriculum that has been implemented into the Massachusetts school, at least here in central Massachusetts, where they're going to be implementing sex ed curriculum from K through 12. And through some digging, I found out that it's a Planned Parenthood backed curriculum.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah. So they can, they can have more abortions. At the end of the day, they can sexualize the kids, and they figured out a way to have more abortions, and that's by sexualizing the children and getting that curriculum into the schools. A lot of parents have no idea what's going on. They were not informed. There was no notice that went home from school. So my pastor, who's an advocate against it, and also I found some advocates in the Worcester County area in Massachusetts and Central Mass that are fighting against it. They're teaching things that, they're teaching little kids how to navigate porn sites and about anal.
So they're giving this. They're handing out. Are they handing out any paperwork that the kids can take home?
Nope, there's no paperwork. There's no robocalls. They purposefully did not let the parents know because they know the parents would be up in arms about it. So they had a meeting, and there were only a handful of parents there that had just found out about it. But the people that were calling in that were advocating for it were from the LGBTQ community that didn't have children. So
can I ask you something? And it's on topic. I wonder, why is it so important for the LGBTQXYZ people to sexualize our children? Why do you think that's important to them?
Honestly, I think it's a spiritual issue. I'm all for, who you decide to have sex with behind closed doors is your business. I don't think it should be paraded around the street, in a G-string with dildos all over your all over your body to prove a point that they should be treated equal. Obviously, everybody should be treated with love. Right. As a Christian, I don't believe in that lifestyle. However, I also don't believe that I think it's just gone to another level where they not only want it to be accepted among the youth, but they want the spirit wants to over-sexualize the youth to pervert them. And
yes,
you know what I mean? At the end of the day. So, look, I have family in the LGBTQ community. I have friends, that I absolutely adore. They're not for this.
I understand.
They're not for this curriculum. So It is it's definitely a spiritual issue. And honestly, it comes down to what I learned with the it's called the world leaders, the UN. What their outcome is, they're trying to create, a one world government. And that is one of the downfalls that they're using. So I was on a I went on a socialism binge last year on studying the history on socialism, communism, why have those nations fallen? Why has the United States stayed, afloat? And so this is what I learned about, this is around 1922. It's a little long, but it'll put into perspective why this stuff is happening.
Okay.
And this is from the book Socialism Under the Microscope. This is written by one of my favorite evangelists in Florida. He's actually the evangelist that got arrested last year for keeping his church open.
Oh.
His name is Rodney Howard-Browne. Phenomenal guy. But this is the quote. The plan to kill Christianity, because at the heart of socialism is to kill Christianity. They don't want God involved. So it says, such people should be transformed into true socialists when severed from their religious roots. The civilized world, Gramsci wrote, this is one of the communists, had been thoroughly saturated with Christianity for 2 years. Moreover, the Christian faith had become a tool whereby the capitalists gained dominion over the masses. Gramsci stressed the need for socialists to create a counter-hegemonic project by forming alliances with non-communist leftists, including radical feminists, civil rights activists, free love advocates, extremists, environmentalists, and community organizers. By working together with these groups, a neo-Marxist is somebody who's anti-Christian in the Western world, in America. It's like a neo-Marxist is saying like someone who's pro-Marxism, but like a new version of that. Could forge a united secular humanist front that could serve as a battering ram to shatter Judeo-Christian culture. It goes on to say the quiet revolution. I'm going to skip down. In this capacity, he put self-described demonic ideas into action, including the institution of radical sex education program in Hungary schools. This was back in the day, 1919. Within the program, children were encouraged to masturbate, to experience heterosexual and homosexual encounters, and to embrace polymorphous perversity. They were also taught the archaic and irrational nature of middle-class family values, the self-imprisonment of monogamy, and the irrelevance of religion.
Oh my gosh.
So you see that this is all part of a bigger plan to topple the nation from the top up. And so it has happened under our noses. We have seen some of the ideas, because my husband's children are in public school. I have a small daughter, and then he has, from a previous marriage, he has older children that are teenagers, and we have seen the curriculum that they come home with, and it is pro-feminist, pro-community organizing, pro LGBTQ, pro-BLM, all of the things that should revoke the funding of public schools.
Right. Because
you can't teach politics. You're not supposed to teach politics in school. You could lose your funding. But for whatever reason, it's allowed. And the sexualization of children is just a small part of that, even though it's a very big deal.
Right.
So all of this has happened right under our noses when we're checking our kids' curriculum. We weren't, asking questions to the board. We weren't involved in the school meetings. We weren't talking to teachers. And we finally, when we learned that this was happening more, we started getting involved more with the school, asking them questions. Why is this happening? Why are they coming home with this curriculum? And they believe with every five of all of the ideals because they have been taught this since they were little.
Right.
And because and backing up on them, it's kind of like, you're bashing heads at this point. Who are they? They're kind of been trained to trust the teachers more than the parents, where they say, Christianity, they had one of the classes that they had was called conspiracy theories. And the conspiracy theory is the healing is not a thing with Christianity. Christianity is not a real thing. That was in a class. I'm a Christian. And so to know that these are things that the kids are learning, and now that we're starting to fight against is, you have to ask questions like, are we too late for the older ones?
You
know what I mean?
I think we are. I do. I think we are too late. I think, but I think the upside of the pandemic, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is that parents were made very aware of what the curriculums were. They were made very aware of how little or how much the teachers actually teach and how much time they spend teaching. That is something that they needed to find out. And they weren't going to find out because basically most people just go about their lives. They go to work, they go home, they cook dinner, they go to bed. They're just glad they got through the day. So
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to question if everything seems okay, it seems okay. And
Right.
my parents never questioned.
Right.
We trusted the wrong people. I think that is the
Yeah.
problem. And I think it started many years ago when they started the communism in the colleges, because all of the
Mm-hmm.
teachers, the people choosing these curriculums, have all gone to these colleges, universities that teach, I mean, verbatim pure communism, and that the government, the US government, was responsible for every evil in the world. Basically every time we've ever fought a war, everything
Mm-hmm.
that we've ever done has been bad, and then that and by elimination, think about it, then after that, then it's us, the parents, who were all screwed up because we don't know
Mm-hmm.
what we're talking about. Because I know, I talk to my kids, they're adults now, and I thought it was just normal teen angst, rebellion. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was what it was. But now I really think that it was the curriculum and some of the teachers. And I know that when I did homeschool for the short while that I did, I noticed a big difference in my kids' spiritual lives.
Mm-hmm.
And because we went to church every day. I mean, we went
Yeah.
every single day, and it was wonderful. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as the schools got a hold of them again, because they wanted to go back to regular school, so I thought, you know what, I'm paying for it. You're doing double duty. You're paying the taxes for the
Right.
school,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're homeschooling as well. Now I had help. We kind of had a co-op situation going, but when I think back, I would have homeschooled all of them the whole time. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of options. There's a lot. We had a really good charter school there in California. And so, but it was very hard to get into as a waiting list. And what do the teachers union want to do now? They want to shut down the charter schools because that's competition, because they
Mm-hmm.
know what they're up to. I
Yeah.
mean, look at the president of the teachers union, how she's
Yeah.
talking about this critical race theory.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
pushing that. How I can't even believe this is the same country I grew up in.
What's funny is we had an instance where someone had said to us, as a kid, said, I have white privilege. We
Right.
had a situation where one of them had come home with information saying that she had white privilege.
Oh.
And, I said, well, I have four houses. I wrote three books.
Mm.
We got into real estate really early on. We have a pretty comfortable life. Um, none of that happened because I'm Puerto Rican. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Puerto Riqueña.
and I also I represented Puerto Rico playing soccer.
Yeah.
I had a full scholarship for softball to get, for college. I
Oh.
nobody said to me, "You're light skinned Puerto Rican. Here you go. You're gonna."
Right. Right.
I'm only light skinned in the winter, and I'm like darker in the summer.
Oh,
This lighting is not doing me justice, but
I've
I,
got like 30 shades of foundation because I tan very easily, and
change at
and
any point.
anymore I can sit in a hot car and get a
Yeah.
tan.
Yeah. So I look a lot paler here because of my camera, but I'm much darker. So and then I was like, what about LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Jennifer Lopez? Like, and it's just, it was weird to me because growing up, I remember my parents talking to me about the struggle of when they came here, and they did have real discrimination. They had real racism back in the day. But now it's not the same thing. I don't walk out of my door and see people lynched. You know what I mean?
No.
Like I live in a predominantly white community. And
Mhm.
people have never said anything cross or racist, or they've never said anything to me that made me feel like I couldn't achieve something. Has it happened in my lifetime? Yes. But
Sure.
we are taught from when we're young, like, they're dumb, like, just move on with your life.
Yeah.
Like, don't
And
give it a
that's
second thought.
on them. I mean, really, if somebody wants to behave that way, it's like, oh, now I know who you are. You
Yeah.
know, you're not my
Yeah.
kind of people. But you know,
And
you keep it moving. But they're not as this is not a racist country. This is not. And I refuse to accept that at all because I have too many friends and family. My family alone is the entire rainbow of colors.
mm,
Everyone, my granddaughter is half Mexican and half Japanese, and her other half is me and my white husband. So
right.
she's full on American. So
Yeah.
that's what I was real disappointed though that I didn't have Latin blood because I always thought that I did. And then the
Yeah.
DNA came back and I was just like, really, my daughter.
You know what? Did you do like the genetic testing thing?
Yes.
So I literally just saw this a few days ago where they did genetic testing of like an orange. Like
Uh-huh.
somebody sent the DNA of an orange or
Oh.
something like that, of a fruit, and it came back that it was like 25% African. So
Oh,
you might be Latino and and Latina, and they didn't really,
well,
it's not real.
I learned Spanish really easily from my friends. I'm not,
Hmm.
my friend Patricia Oliva. She taught me my Spanish, and I took it in class. And for me, because I speak Creole too, and
Hmm.
so French came pretty easily, and Spanish came pretty easily. I've lost a lot of it by now. I mean,
Yeah.
libertad. I was thinking when they were saying libertad in Cuba, I was like,
Cuba.
I was feeling very passionate about it. I felt very passionate when the Chinese students were protesting
Mm.
for freedom. And I
Hong
was
Kong.
proud of everybody who wants freedom. And I'm thinking, and here we have a bunch of ungrateful people in this country stomping on our flag. What in the world? What?
But that's again like how I read before. That has all been strategically planned from the top up. There was actually a school called, have you ever seen the movie Salt with Angelina Jolie?
You know what? I've been thinking about seeing that. I haven't seen that. Not the
Okay,
whole.
so it watch it because it has a lot of correlation to what I'm about to say. Is back in the day, they had what was called the Frankfurt School, where they trained doctors, lawyers, educators, preachers. They had trained them to say, listen, we cannot go into the United States guns blazing like we did with China.
Right.
You can't do that there because they're armed,
Right.
and the people will stand up. You have to go in quietly. So what they did was this Frankfurt School literally taught all of these people, this is what you need to do when you go into the United States. And they have infiltrated not only the colleges and the education system, but medical schools, seminaries. There's a
Yes.
lot of churches in Boston that are socialist churches. I've
Mhm.
seen them with my own eyes.
Mhm.
They've
There was
infiltrated.
a lady that I watched a movie. It wasn't a movie. It was a documentary called "A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing."
Mhm.
It was on EWTN, and it was very, very good. But it was very, very bad news. You know, basically, she was a former spy, a communist spy, and she said that that her group were responsible for getting 1,500 men into seminary. This is back in the 40s, and
Yeah,
they were not going to be real priests. They were just pretending, and somehow
yeah,
they made it through. And that was the thing. She ended up becoming Catholic later, but she was talking about this to many people. I think she even said it to Congress because they were looking into communist influences in the country. And then you look back at Chicago, which is why it's the worst. But Chicago took in a lot of these priests, and some of the good priests got chased out by the bad priests, and
yeah.
that was what happened. Father Mitch Pacwa, who's alive now, I've gone to watch him speak. He was chased out of Chicago by gangs. I mean, chased out because this was what was happening, and he was making an issue of it. It is
Wow.
terrible. This is, and then people wonder where the bad priests came from. I can tell you where they came from: communism.
Right. And then you know what? Now that you say that, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have, I grew up Catholic. That's why they have that area of perversion with the children. That has to come from that branch.
Corrupt the children. What does the devil want to do? Corrupt the children. How do
Yeah,
you make people lose faith? Hurt the children.
yeah.
And so a lot of people left the church or left the faith because of that.
Mhm.
But it was by design. I mean, you can't look at it and not see it's by design. And so those people, some of which are still in the church, the good and holy priests that we know, they've suffered the most because basically people look at them all with the same brushstroke.
Yeah.
They didn't do it all. I remember when it was really bad in California, and I have two really good friends that are priests. One's a missionary priest, one's just a regular priest, and they were like scared to wear their collar anywhere because
Yeah.
of people being so mean and basically assuming that they're pedophiles too. And this is like less than 1%, less than 1%. But guess what? The media made it huge. Of course it was huge to those children, but I'm saying
Mhm.
the media had to make it huge because what the media is in league with the devil, in my opinion.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
the devil likes to make his demons look bigger than they are. So we think that the media is more powerful than they actually are in our lives, and they fooled us into thinking that, and that was by design. And think about it, the media, the Democratic Party, one and the
Mhm.
same, right?
Mhm.
Now that the Democratic Party's not ashamed to say how communistic they are, they've always been that way,
Yeah.
but now they're just not shy about it.
No. I mean, you look at the government. I mean, right now, Congress is filled.
Mm-hmm.
They have no shame at all. They'll just come out and say it, and it is wild that
No
we've allowed,
shame.
not only that, but Christians sat back for years and they
Yes.
said, we're going to be the meek. This is what I think of American Christianity, honestly, because when I moved from Puerto Rico to the States, when I lived in Puerto Rico, all I had was my Bible. I didn't have a church to go to. I wasn't involved like with a community of Christians. I had gotten saved. I came for a summer to visit. I got saved, and then I went back to Puerto Rico for school. And I was in high school at the time, and I went back, and all I had was my Bible. So nobody could interpret the Bible for me. I read it myself from cover to cover. I studied it every day. And so when I came to the States and I got involved with the church, I was kind of surprised at like some of the behavior of the members. And then it just kind of came upon me. It's like this Americanized Christianity where it's a very lax hang back, let's love everybody, and
Kind of watered down.
very watered down,
I
Jesus drank
agree.
wine, so I'm gonna drink wine too, kind of deal. And I remember being like, wait, I don't see this in the scripture, like the behavior was very different. And it wasn't until recently where I said, this is the reason why the country is in the condition that it's in now, is because they said, well, somebody wrote on a cake, they didn't want to bake they didn't want to put on the cake the gay couple's name.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a lawsuit against them. Well, that's them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has nothing to do with us. Gay people want to, that's them. They have
Yeah.
nothing to do with us. Well, now look what happened, because let me tell you something. The
Mm-hmm.
LGBTQ community, I have a little bit of respect for them, because they get stuff done. They want something done, or they want something passed, they go and they get it done. Christians, that'll never happen in our
So a
school. That
lot,
won't come into my home.
yeah. Well, a lot of
And look
people
what
do
happened.
that, and in a lot of churches, a lot of people do that. It's like so long as you have a good conscience. I mean, that was one of the reasons I know pastors, priests even that left California because of the laxness of the
So last.
bishops. I'm like, oh, you could go to communion, you could be shacking up with some dude and a dude, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
Biden actually officiated a wedding between two dudes.
And he was in his history, he's
Yeah.
not consistent because he was anti-gay marriage back in the day.
Right. Well, when he was also anti-black, and
Yeah,
and
I
now,
remember
of course, no, everything's Jim Crow. You know?
well, and that's where we are right now because
Mhm.
of Christians just wanted to hang back. They did not they didn't read the Bibles for themselves. They did whatever their pastors told them to do. They were passive. And now we have to go backwards. We have to fight. The
Yes.
reason why the nation lasted so long was because of revivals.
Mm-hmm.
They would have like intervals of revivals when the government would see, that there was a lack in morale in the
Mm-hmm.
community. They would say,
Right.
yo, we need a revival. Like, let's
Yes.
get the revivals going. And it's time for that again for this nation before Jesus comes back, because
It's time for a crusade.
crusades.
We
Yep,
need a
revivals, crusades.
crusade, just like they did when the Moors came into Europe. The Moors came in and they tried to turn all Christianity off. They took over the churches. If you go to Spain today, you see all the churches were converted to mausoleums or whatever I don't know, was that a temple that they, well, anyways, that mosque, that's the word I'm looking for.
Mosques, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And they and the decorations and everything, they don't believe in having photos or paintings of people. So all the decorations were all Arabic looking in the churches. And they did that on purpose because, and so we had a crusade. And the crusade that has a bad rap because people have basically fake news, basically revised history. Because basically men, it would cost like $900, to actually get a sword to today's standards, to have just a uniform, to do the job of a crusader. They had to give up everything, sometimes their houses, everything, in order to fight for Jesus. And that was what they were doing. It had nothing to do with anything else. But if you reread the old books that we had during the school years, they don't even talk about it being about Jesus at all.
No, they've managed to do that with the textbooks where they erase. They've done it with everything. I did a hard study on history, the true history of the United States. And people say the Pilgrims were bad. And, the founding fathers were bad. And when I look at like the documented evidence of the true history, Jesus was all over history.
Yes.
And the history books have completely eliminated them. And, to a point where Christians believe that, this is another reason why the country is where it is because Christians have separated politics and religion. And they take the quote, which is just a ruling. It's not even part of the Constitution. And many people believe it's part of the Constitution of separation of church and state, but they don't know that the reason why it's called separation of church and state is because Thomas Jefferson, when he was in Virginia, there was a religion, I think it was like, I don't know what religion it was like Presbyterian or whatever. And they started taking over the state and they were telling people, no, you can't practice your whatever you believe. You have to practice what we believe. And Thomas Jefferson said, no, that's not what this country is about. We don't do that here. So we're going to separate. We're going to separate that now.
Religious freedom.
It has nothing to do with taking God out of history or out of the laws. The reason why we have our laws today is because they're based on biblical principles. Thou shalt not kill. Well, if you kill, you go to jail and you get like those. That's where those things come from. And so, it's unfortunate that the reason why they separate, they think it's separate and they shouldn't be involved. And that's why they have done it in the school system, in the textbooks, and that's why everybody says we need to separate these two. No, they have everything to do with each other.
Right.
Everything to do with each other. And you can tell that because of what's happening right now in the nation.
Yes. And I'm sad for this nation right now, but I'm still fighting. Fighting.
That's why we're here.
Exactly.
Like, why
we're not going
this.
down without a fight.
No, we are not.
So that's one of the beautiful things about the people that I'm getting to know with my podcast is because I'm talking to different Christianities. I'm talking to different ones, and I mean, not just mine. Of course, I'd like to have more Catholics on my show, but I still think that we need to be in this fight together. We don't have to believe I don't care if you believe in purgatory. I believe in purgatory, but it doesn't matter to me one bit. If you do, we'll find out when we get wherever we're going. But what's important to me is Jesus. And that is what we have in common. And that is what we have to focus on when we have this fight against evil, because they want us separated. We don't have to be a one religion. They're going to try to make us think that we have to be, but we don't have to be. But we do have to know and love Jesus. I truly believe that. And I think there's hope, really a lot of hope for a lot of people. But I think we're falling off of our horse because we're not evangelizing. We're
just praying. Pray for Cuba, pray for Venezuela, pray for Chicago. Well, that's not going to help. You need to evangelize.
We need
tell
to
people about Jesus. That's what's going to make the change, not telling people to pray.
I love Jesus Christ. And I'm not shy about saying it any day of the week.
Yep.
So in fact, I've been saying it every day of the week, but you know what I mean? And I think that's what I love about the people I know in my life now. When I was young, I kind of let everybody into my life. I just wanted to be Christian and just love everybody, you know. Now I'm a little more picky, and I'm like, and there's not a single friend that I have that at a moment's notice I can't drop to my knees and pray with them.
Yeah.
There's not a single friend in my life that I can't do that with. And that is an awesome thing. I mean, I'm like, oh, I love it. I don't want any new friends. I'm good. But now I still make new friends because I am hopeful and I'm not so jaded. Like, you know, I was when I first moved back out of California. When I first moved out of California back to Texas, I was kind of jaded. I'm like, oh, no new friends for me. In fact, I said, no ministries for me either, because in California, I was in every ministry. I was doing everything. And I said, I'm going to be passive. I'm just going to sit there like in the audience, like everybody else. And I'm not going to do a thing. That lasted for about 6 months. Because I am not a passive Christian. I'm an active Christian. I've got to do something. I can't just watch the mass. I have to be a part of the mass.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
And I think you're that kind of person too. You gotta do it yourself. I don't see you being passive. And look, you played sports, right? I played softball when I was really young, but I played on a team called the Road Dogs. And I was a catcher and a second baseman occasionally when I got lucky. And then, you know, I got into gymnastics after that, which is fun. And then now I golf. So there's it's a whole different thing, golf, because I wear my golf clothes, and then I think some people think that I might be gay because my golf clothes are kind of, you know,
masculine.
Yeah, and there's that reputation, you know what I mean? But of all my friends, all of us are married in regular marriages. I think I know one lady who we know she's gay, and I had to partner with her one time because I was in WGA, you know, and I had to partner with her one time. And she says, "Can you drop me?" We had fun. We had a great time. She's a nice lady, you know, but she was very, very athletic. Anyway, so we played, and then she said, "Drop me off at my car so I could put my clubs in the trunk." I said, "Sure." And so I had my car and I dropped her off. And as she's getting her clubs, I'm looking at all these bumper stickers. It had the LBG thing, the rainbow. It had all this, you know, Biden and Beto and all of this stuff. It was just like 20 different stickers on her car. I don't do stickers except for my Longhorn emblem. But yeah. And so I said, well, I had so much fun. I said, I forgive you. And she says, forgive me? She goes, forgive me for what? You know? And I said, well, I forgive you for all those damn stickers because they're ugly. I'm like, oh my gosh, who put the Beto sticker on their car? Well, you know, that's the thing. And that back then, that was when Trump was running, right? And so I remember thinking I wouldn't put a Trump sticker on my car. Why? Because I live in Austin, north of Austin. My car would get keyed. Those lefties would key your car in a heartbeat. But you know what? Beto cars are safe because Because Republicans don't do that stuff.
Right.
We don't. We don't go around damaging other people's property. That's just not how
That's
we.
true.
But isn't that so unfair and so telling? Because yeah, her car's safe. But that's the way of the world. But getting back to the CRT, because I was thinking about that a lot lately, because I'm thinking, why would they want to bring back segregation? Why would they want to bring back separation when they work, so much work was done to bring people together. And I think they really need the race thing to keep going, because I don't think the Democrats have anything.
No, they've never had anything.
No, they don't have anything. They have nothing to offer our country. They would have
everybody knows that what is the environment? What is the environment?
The global
warming or whatever is BS. Everybody knows that.
When I was a kid, it was global freezing.
It's not global warming now. It's global. It has a PC name to it now.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that that's climate change.
Well, climate is always changing. It always
change.
Have you seen what's that? I walk the dog, and when we walk the dog, there's these hills up on the side of the road, and you could see the etchings of the water, or where the water used to be.
Yeah.
It's like if
climate is gonna change.
It's gonna.
I saw this video from, and I believe this guy was killed for saying this, but he was the inventor of the Weather Channel,
right?
Like he was the CEO of it, and he was like, he had said on CNN, he was like, everybody knows that climate change is BS. Like that's not a thing. And when they had looked him up to see if he was still alive, they were like, nah, he's not going to be alive after saying that.
Oh my gosh, they're going to come for him.
They suicided him, I think.
You know what's so weird is that when you look at just common sense and you think about it, Barack Obama, 2-time president, now he had access to all the information anybody could possibly ever get about climate change, everything. He buys a house on the beach.
Oh, Martha's Vineyard, right up here.
Yeah. So we're supposed to think it's going to be underwater in 10 years. Why would he buy a house right there on the...
That's how you know. That's how you know. You look at how the politicians live and you say, well, they're not wearing masks. So obviously, is this really what they say it is? They're buying millions and millions of dollars worth of homes. Where is their money coming from? Where you're not even supposed to make that kind of money when you're a public official. Where you're buying homes on the water. Like,
once upon a time, Obama actually said he was going to end lobbyists.
Obama is, what I had just quoted in the book about community organizer. That's what he was. Yeah, he was a community. He was when I read that. That's the first thing I remember.
Studied Saul Alinsky,
and he was one of.
And Saul Alinsky,
one of the guys,
community organizers, and they built projects, and they had programs. And guess what? We get on our computer, and guess what? We have to program everything, and everything's a project. We were their project. The Black people and the Hispanic people, we were their project.
Yeah.
I don't want to be anybody's project anymore. I never was, but still, you think about it. It was a big experiment. They put Latinos in one building in these projects at low cost, right? And then they put Blacks in another, and they put Italians in another. I mean, they separated them on purpose. And then, this is one thing I learned from the Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Then when they would have these meetings to get the community together, they would on purpose leave out one or two of those groups on purpose, so that they felt left out, so there would be an us and against them situation. That's how Saul Alinsky taught them. And that's you create that dynamic. And that's what they're doing with this critical race theory. They're creating the dynamic so that it's us and them, us and them. And that's how they control people. See, they can't control Christians because we're about love. I mean, true Christians. If we're about love, I'm going to love my neighbor. I'm going to love people. I'm going to love my husband the way God intended. But I'm going to love. But they can't control that. So what do they control people with? Hate.
Yep.
So hate Trump is what they did all last year. Hate Trump. Are you in the hate Trump club? I'm in the hate Trump club. We can hate Trump together.
The teachers would do that. The teachers would say, all of the teachers would say, oh, yeah, we are anti-Trump. If your parents are pro-Trump, they're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
That they did
That's
it
exactly
all.
what
They did it. They start that in schools. And it's, I honestly think that do you know the story? I think it's Abraham in Genesis where I don't know if it's Genesis or is it Lot, where he goes, God says, hey, I'm gonna go destroy the city, and he goes, well, if I find one person that's there, will you
you
delay? And he goes, yeah, I'll delay. And he goes, okay, what if I find like 5 people, will you delay? Obviously I'm paraphrasing because I just
right.
butchered that whole scripture. But
But I know which one you're talking about.
yeah,
Yes.
so he's like, yeah, I'll delay. And he goes, okay, what if I find 20 people, will you delay? And I really do believe we're in the last hour where we are asking God, delay, like
Right.
delay right now. Let's go get more people, let's get them saved, let's get them to heaven before the end is coming. It's inevitable, but
Right.
delay. We're asking God, delay, because this is the only standing nation that is free on all of every level.
Mm-hmm.
The only country that has freedom. The reason why the UN and the World Summit and all those leaders completely hated Donald Trump was because Donald Trump pulled the US out of a lot of the things that Obama had put us into.
Yes.
And they were getting closer to having a one world government. They were getting so much closer with that. And when Trump came, he disrupted all of that. And he was like, no, we're not going to, these are bad deals that we're a part of. We're not going to be a part of them. Mm-hmm. And so that bought us 4 years. And I believe that the time that we're in right now is more of an awakening where they're saying, look, obviously the president isn't the real president. It's probably Obama in a basement, which he admitted to, that he would like to do, that he would like to have somebody as a puppet and just feed him the lines. It's not, the president is not Biden. It's the Democratic Party and whatever it is that they're trying to do with the nation.
Biden's not right in the head, and he's not quite all there. I that's just an observation. I'm not a doctor, don't have to be, but I think it's pretty clear to anybody who's had parents or grandparents who have gotten senile that he's not all there.
No.
And he's a puppet. But the thing is that's scary is that if something should happen to him, we'd be stuck with Kamala.
When I found out that Kamala was picked to be VP, not by Joe Biden, but by obviously his handlers, I don't think I've ever been so mad in my life because Kamala had less than 1% of the vote when she ran for president, and she was the first one to drop out. Never mind her questionable history on how she came up, and her demeanor and her character. I could not have been more infuriated by that pick, by that decision. And then to think that Kamala would be president, and then
Scares
Pelosi.
Me.
Come on,
gosh, no.
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
It is the end of the world.
It doesn't matter because they're all run by the same people. Kamala doesn't know anything about run. What is she? How is she going to run a nation? It's going to be the party anyway.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. So I mean, I was pissed.
We're screwed no matter what.
I think we're good. I think honestly, this is the time where we shake people, we wake them up and say,
yes,
what do you think about the person that you voted for? How has it been for you? How are your gas prices? How are your all of the
how's that working out for you?
Yeah, like I went to the supermarket and I'm like, wow, what? Or
Beef.
like just to get medicine for my kid, she had a head cold. I'm like, what happened to these prices? Why are they all going up?
Because of their policies. They're crazy. They're crazy policies. Why is crime going up? Because crime. Defund the police. About that. Is that the dumbest thing you ever heard in your life? Defund the police. That was clearly a sign that the Democrats have lost their minds. When Kamala Harris got on board with that, she was bailing people out who were protesting in the street. They weren't protesters, all of them. They were really just people destroying other people's property. And those middle class people, they're trying to destroy the middle class. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
They're trying to destroy us. And we're not going to let it happen because we outnumber them. That's what I was telling you. The devil is not as big as he makes himself to be.
No, the devil, all he has when Goliath fought David, all Goliath had before he engaged in combat with him was insults and threats.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he had. That's all the devil has.
Exactly.
Insults and threats. What? Like, what are you going to do? There are a lot of silent Christians that are rising up. I get messages from people all the time. They're saying, hey, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know all of this was really happening. You know, I want to dig deeper with, you know, Jesus. I can see that the world is ending. You know, what can I do?
Maranatha. I'm just, I go from, we can fight this, we can do this, we can build this country back. I go from that emotion to Jesus, just come now, just come.
When I want Jesus to come most is when I'm in a spin class.
Yeah.
I'm like,
come out, Jesus.
Just pay me now.
That would be good.
I want the rapture to come now.
Oh my gosh. I wonder, you know, we have the 3 days of darkness. You guys have the rapture, but you know what? I'll tell you something funny. One day, I woke up and my grandson had been staying with us, and my husband's car was there and the golf cart was there, and my grandson wasn't in his bed. My husband wasn't in his office, and I'm looking and it was silence. And I looked outside. There wasn't even any wind, like ruffling the trees.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what if the Protestants are right? Maybe there is a rapture. And so quite naturally, I called my daughter and she says, I said, Marco, do you think it's real? She goes, Mom, so you call me? You just figured I'm the one that's not going to be taken up. Naturally, you and I are the bad ones. So quite naturally, I call you. So who would you call if you weren't taken up in a rapture situation?
You know what? My husband tells me all the time. He goes, I'm going to play a prank on you one day, and I'm just going to lay clothes all over the house. And you're just going to see Isabella's clothes. You're going to see my clothes. Oh. And I'm going to make you think that you didn't go. I'm like, of all the people in this house, I'm definitely going in the rapture. That won't faze me. I'm like, but that would be really scary.
Oh my God. Well, we have this, the 3 days of darkness, which is really heavy and too much to go into. But I mean, I learned about it years and years ago, and it's very scary. It's very similar to what you guys interpret as the rapture. And it's very scary. It's like a horror movie. But so all these mystics have said the same, you know, prophecy, and they didn't even know each other. It's really kind of bizarre, but yeah, whichever happens, I'm ready. I'm like, you know what, God, I'm good. I'm trying my best. I pray. I think this has increased my prayer life. This horribleness in the world, I have never prayed more in my life, and also I've never cursed more. So, this is just like childbirth. When I was giving birth to my child, and in 1 minute, I was like, oh, Jesus, oh, my God. And then the next minute, I'm like, I'm about to blurt out a cuss word. My mother's there. She goes, Kathy. I'm like, I wanted to say a bad word. You know? But my mom was there. I can't cuss in front of my mom. So, but yeah, this is a good talk. I'm glad we got to talk today. Oh, I didn't tell you. Melinda, your aunt, she wants to do a show with both of us.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
She said, set it up. I said, okay, I'll set it up. She told me that this morning.
Yeah.
So I think
that's so funny. I just texted her like an hour ago.
Oh my gosh. Well, she said that it would be fun, and I would love it. You know, she's doing something with LEXIT now for New Mexico.
You know, I just got in touch with them to do for Massachusetts.
Awesome.
LEXIT in Massachusetts. Yeah.
I think this is wonderful. I'm so proud of her because, I mean, New Mexico needs that help. They've been run into the ground by the Democratic Party. They need some help, and they need to just be aware. I mean, a lot of people aren't aware. I know for a Black person, not a lot of Black people are aware of what's going on. They just take it by word of mouth. Oh, I'm a Black person. I'm supposed to be a Democrat. That's kind of crazy. I mean, did you think about looking into it? Oh, well, I had no idea about how the Democratic Party got started, and that's scary. And then you start to realize that they're still up to the same tactics. They're using fear and intimidation to control people, just like the Klan did. They call you names, they use fear and intimidation, and that's what they're doing on social media. That's what they're doing to Republicans, what they're doing, exactly like the Opelousas massacre. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Same old tactics, that just using different words. Now they're using the words that they invented, Jim Crow and all that crap. They are the ones that are intimidating people. They're the ones putting people in jail. They're the ones who should be in jail. Why is Hunter Biden not in jail? He's on video smoking crack.
We have questions about that for, everyone. Hillary Clinton, Obama, none of those guys are gonna, they're high level politicians. How would they, Bill Clinton?
Oh my gosh.
Come on, bro. He should have been in jail a long time ago.
He should have been in jail and out already for all the stuff he's done.
No, he should have been rotting in jail.
Oh, yeah.
Stay there and rot in jail. But, those are the same questions that I have for them. Why? And you could tell, man, when Hillary was running in 2016 she ran?
Yes.
Where, when you're under federal investigation, you shouldn't be allowed to run for president. You would think. What is going on? I remember saying that to myself, why, how is it possible that she's running? I couldn't apply at McDonald's being under federal investigation.
How does she get away with talking to Black people the way that she did at that church? I ain't no ways tired. I don't even know how she said it. Her bonics. Oh my gosh. I was thinking, and how are they listening to that and not offended?
They all do that. And have you seen the we're getting so off topic, but have you seen The Breakfast Club with Hillary Clinton?
I saw the one with Kamala with the joint thing.
So The Breakfast Club had interviewed Hillary, and she starts taking out hot sauce out of her purse.
Oh my gosh. How does he not? I would have picked that up and threw it at her.
What's your favorite food? She's like, obviously fried chicken.
Yeah. And he goes, are you trying to pander? She goes, is it working? Is it working? To their face. To their face.
It's just unreal. They all do it. AOC does it.
Yes.
They all do it. And
to be honest, Kamala's doing it too.
Of course.
She's gotten more ebonically inclined the longer she's been in office. Listen to her voice from the debates and listen to her voice in her interviews. It's like, I can't even do a Kamala imitation. I'm working on it though. I'm gonna get a Kamala imitation down because she's so many quirks and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, how is she getting away with this stuff? But you know what? I don't see my Democratic, the few of them that have left, friends bragging about what a great job Joe is doing, or what a great job Kamala is doing.